Live, local. This is Fox 12 Now.
Hello, everyone. This is Fox 12 Now. I'm Greg Nibbler. Thank you very much for joining us. We are live streaming here out of the Fox 12 Oregon newsroom, which we do every weekday starting at 1 p.m., going throughout the afternoon. And we have a wide range of conversations that we get to have here as part of this show, including educating everybody about, well, in this case, invasive species. Talking about the emerald ash borer, a name that you may have heard over the years, and particularly in other parts of the country, and it has made its way out here. Portland Parks and Rec has a plan on how to mitigate some of these issues. We're going to get into that here in a second and give you a more of a detailed definition of what the emerald ash borer is, where it's at currently, what it does, and all of that. And to do so, we're joined now by Anya Moucha from the Portland Parks and Rec. And Anya, thank you very much for being here with us today. I appreciate you joining the show and being a part of this as we get to have these conversations. And, you know, I think to start off, could you give us just a general overview of the emerald ash borer and what it is and maybe where it's been so far here in the country?
Yeah, absolutely. So emerald ash borer is probably a familiar name to many by now. It's one of the most, if not the most destructive forest pests in the country. So it first was discovered in Michigan back in 2002, and it sort of worked its way through the Midwest and East Coast, decimating some of the ash tree populations out there. And then in 2022, it was found in Oregon in Forest Grove. And last year, a couple more infestations were found in Clackamas, Marion, and Yamhill counties.
So it is spreading here. And when you talk about an infestation, how many are we talking about with that? I guess, is this something where you would see them crawling all over these ash trees?
Yeah, likely not. In the case of emerald ash borer, the beetles are really small, and so it's unlikely you'll ever see the beetle itself. Although if you do, they are very pretty. They're that shiny emerald green color. More than likely, you're going to see stress on some of the ash trees. So things like, dying branches up in the canopy and thinning of the canopy, the bark maybe splitting and flaking off in some cases, and even if you can see underneath the bark, you'll see these galleries that are made by the larvae as they chew their way through that inner bark layer.
And we're taking a look here too, just at some of this, just to get an idea there of the emerald ash borer itself. Like, ugh, it's kind of gross, but that is what we're dealing with. So the emerald ash borer, and looking at some of those different problems and things that it does there. So when we're talking about the devastation that this can cause, as far as the ash trees, what does that do for the environment here? Should we get a severe infestation like they had in the Midwest?
Yeah, great question. So here in Portland and in Multnomah County, EAB has not yet been detected. But within Portland, ash trees are a really important part of our urban canopy. So they make up about 1% of all of our trees, which doesn't sound like a lot, but is about 95,000 trees that are vulnerable to this pest. And that's across, our street trees in our parks, along our rivers. And our native ash tree, the Oregon ash, is really important for habitats like our riparian areas along the rivers. It provides a lot of shade for those areas. It's great for habitat. And it just has this great niche that not a lot of other trees are able to do. So we're trying to protect that and preserve that function. But even just, in urban life, in the city, losing those trees along our streets and stuff could increase the feeling of heat, things like that, where we talk about the shade provided by them.
Yeah, I would imagine there's just kind of myriad things that could be occurring there if you start losing these trees, let alone, dead trees with dead limbs that can fall, that can, be a fire hazard. So a lot of bad stuff I would think that would come with that. So in order to try to combat that, what is it that for the Portland Parks and Rec for this plan, especially when it comes to that canopy side of things that you mentioned?
Yeah, absolutely. So we know that EAB is nearby. It could show up in Portland any day. And so we've been working hard for the past few years trying to plan for this and be proactive where we can. I think we have the benefit of 2 decades of research from the East Coast and Midwest that we can pull from at least and see what has worked, what hasn't. And so all of that is in our recently released EAB response plan. But a couple of the things we're looking at are like in our developed parks, are there healthy, mature ash trees that we want to make sure we can save? And so those ones we've identified, we've been proactively treating those for the past 3 years with a product called emamectin that helps protect them from getting infested in the first place. And that's something that if people have trees on their property that they want to save, or street trees, you can get a free permit from urban forestry and be able to treat those trees as well. And then we're also making plans for, how can we sort of proactively maybe get rid of trees that we don't think will qualify for preservation, and sort of slow the spread that way, and spread out that work that we have to do. Like you said, we don't want a high volume of dead trees all at the same time that we're trying to manage.
So it sounds like a multi-pronged approach there to try to mitigate, which is probably an inevitable thing, that EAB coming into the Portland area.
Yeah, likely so. And so we're doing what we can. We're working closely with our state partners as well, Oregon Department of Forestry and Oregon Department of Agriculture. We're also encouraging people to buy firewood as close as possible to where they plan to burn it. So firewood is one of the main ways that EAB spreads, especially right now, beautiful summer season, everyone's out camping. Pay attention to where you're grabbing your wood and try to get it within 10 miles of where you want to burn it. Things like that are really helpful in preventing it from spreading and in slowing the spread as well.
Yeah, when campfires are allowed, don't haul wood long distances and try to buy it local. I know that's a very important thing. I learned a lot about that last year, just about specifically trying to do that to prevent that, carrying those pests with it to other places. So good lesson there for the emerald ash borer as well. Well, just to reiterate this too, for everybody who's living in the city, maybe, as you mentioned, may have some ash trees on their property. What are some different things that people can do to watch out for, or help protect, or even to help inform Portland Parks and Rec about any issues that are out there?
Absolutely. I think that there are sort of 3 things right now that you can be doing. One is don't move firewood. That's something that we all can do. Number 2 is we can all be on the lookout too, so that if we do have it show up in Portland, we can respond as quickly as possible. And that can be trees on your property, or if you're just taking a walk through the neighborhood, you can keep your eyes out. So again, with ash trees, you want to look for ones that have some dying branches up in the canopy, some thinning up in the canopy, we say. Bark splits, if it has those tiny little water sprouts or epicormic sprouts that shoot up from the tree, things like that, maybe yellowing branches, things like that. If you're seeing some of those signs of the galleries that you showed earlier, you can file a report with the Oregon Invasive Species Hotline. They have a really easy to use website. And then that's a way for us, or for people with Oregon Department of Forestry and Oregon Department of Agriculture, to take a look and keep track of anything. And then lastly, if you do have land, if you do have a house, now is a great time to start preparing. So assess your trees, see if there are any you want to save, and you can start proactively applying those treatments as well. And if not, maybe start making a plan for removal and replacement, what might go there in its place, and when you might want to do that.
All right, so some things that everybody could be thinking about as they're going out and about here in Portland, or as you mentioned, if you do on the trees. One question just about that: is there any way to eliminate the emerald ash borer? Is there any kind of plan that would work for that?
Yeah, unfortunately not. EAB has never been able to be eradicated once it shows up in a city, which is why being proactive in terms of prevention and slowing it is really critical with this pest. Without, being proactive or doing some of the management options, if EAB is left to sort of run rampant, it starts kind of slow, maybe just a few, but then it tends to have an exponential growth. And that's what we're trying to avoid here. We want to sort of slow down the spread, prevent it if we can. And that just makes it more manageable for everyone. It makes it more manageable for arborists to deal with, potential dying ash trees or applying those treatments.
All right, so good things to think about right there. Just keep your eyes out, and it's good that PP&R has this plan as well to to try to work that and mitigate some of these issues as they come up. Well, thank you, Anya, so much for having some time to talk to us. I think this is important for everybody to be aware of and just learn, know, and at least be cognizant when you're out there. Take a look at those ash trees in your neighborhood and just see if you notice anything and then report that if you can. Anya, thanks for being here on Fox 12 Now. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you so much.
And for everybody watching, again, we are live streaming here from the Fox 12 Oregon newsroom, so thanks for being here. As I did mention, if there's ever breaking news, we will have that for you as well. Anytime between 1 p.m. and 4 p.m., this is the place to go for that. So we'll let you know when that does occur, but we also have lots of other conversations. You can take a look there on the Fox 12 Oregon app or wherever you're finding us. Thanks for doing so. Don't forget KPTV.com. We've got follow-up information on pretty much everything we talk about on here as well. But that's it for right now. I'll talk to you soon. I'm Greg Nibbler. This is Fox 12 Now.
Somebody at the DA's office is loose lips for the work.
All right. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thanks.